As promised, we're looking at rescheduling, how it's going to reshape the marijuana industry. Leslie Bocskor, CEO of Indoor Harvest Corporation, is going to be with us to talk about that in just a moment. Back now on Scripps News tonight to continue our conversation, because the U.S. government has come a long way from the days of reefer madness. Warnings against marijuana as an addictive gateway drug have given way to a looser approach, you could call it. Health and Human Services is now advising the DEA this week to reclassify marijuana as a Schedule III drug. While the change would not legalize marijuana federally, things do loosen, and states are moving that direction anyway. 38 states and D.C. have legalized recreational and/or medical marijuana at this point. At the same time, even without legalization, this maybe could reshape the business of marijuana in some ways. And our question is how? Leslie Bocskor is with us and might see some of the effects firsthand. CEO of the Indoor Harvest Corporation, a firm working with hemp-based products. Leslie, how would rescheduling affect your business?
My business would not be affected by it greatly because we avoid THC. Previously, I had been involved in the policy side as well as the business side of THC businesses, and those businesses are going to be affected greatly.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, hemp, was it Mitch McConnell that actually made that legal to work more on that? Wasn't it?
Correct. Correct. And also, it was a big boon to the state of Kentucky. There was hundreds of thousands of acres, I believe, that were grown in Kentucky in the years following the passage of the Farm Bill in 2018.
Mm-hmm. So you've worked in the cannabis or THC arena. Can you explain how the federal versus state versus even sometimes city issues, how are those legal balls of yarn going to work out? Is that going to become a problem?
It is a giant problem right now. I was told that just in the last 6 months, there were over 180 gunpoint robberies in the state of Washington alone because of the issues of the cannabis industry not being able to have effective access to banking and merchant services. And so this is a policy problem on a national scale. It's a public safety issue, and there's a lot more to it. The recent change or the guidance that's being suggested to go from Schedule I to Schedule III, although ultimately probably just a step in the path of where we'll ultimately end up, is could end up being very positive while also causing some unintended, very negative consequences as well.
I see. So if this were to go through and it goes to Schedule III, I mean, a lot of the dispensaries, I don't know how they're having problems. There's like 3 on every block in Washington, D.C., I can tell you. But would they be able to bank? They can go to Bank of America, open up a bank. They don't have to do everything in cash?
Yes, it would help with that greatly. Okay. The Safe Banking Act, which has been in the Senate 7 times and has not passed, just to allow these businesses to get credible and ready and regular and reliable access to banking and merchant services, to take the cash out of the system and to remove the public safety issue. Having these businesses need to work in cash is so much of a problem. It's now made it into mainstream media. The television show with Sylvester Stallone, Tulsa King, shows and specifically exploits the issues surrounding the cash in the business as part of the storyline in the show. Huh. And so it is a real issue. It's not a small issue, and it really needs to be addressed.
So as for these THC businesses, what of responsibility? Because even if it were to be decriminalized down the road, let's say, we know weed is causing some serious health issues in some users, especially young men. The doctor and I were just talking about this, dependency, schizophrenia. Do they feel a sense of responsibility, or is it just like, hey, it's legal, let the good times roll?
You know, it's a tricky question with a lot of answers. So I would say, you know, we need to look to alcohol and how the alcohol industry reacted to the drop of federal prohibition in the beginning of the 20th century. And the industry came together as a whole and started to work from the beginning very effectively at establishing industry oversight and self-regulation, realizing that they needed to do something about various issues. They ended up working closely with law enforcement to get rid of the black market, and it was incredibly effective. The cannabis industry must do the same thing. It must start to work on self-regulation and work to establish an industry that can avoid having to rely on law enforcement to deal with the issues.
Okay, I guess so. All told, then, I mean, yeah, the black market stuff is one issue, but that also means, you know, they get to have more power and market share. But I just wonder, alcohol, how many problems has it wrought in families and individuals' lives? I mean, we've also had a lot of fun times drinking alcohol, but it depends on who you are. Do you feel like we would be better off as an American society, Leslie, if we had more access to weed and stronger weed at that?
I am an advocate of weaker weed, personally. Part of the reason I'm in the hemp industry is because it's 0.3% THC and less. And we know that the hemp cigarettes we manufacture, we're not going to have an issue with overdosing. And we see that as one of the major issues that needs to be addressed. So access to a lot more stronger weed, I think that it's just going to, the industry will regulate itself, because people are not going to buy it because they're going to have negative experiences. If people only bought Graves XXX alcohol, the alcohol industry would die, because after a while people would say, I just can't even use this stuff. And so the answer is, I think that we're going to see an industry that will get away from the very strong products, and the real health issues that you're pointing out, which are there, will be dealt with as a result.
Nuanced issue. This was really interesting. Leslie Bocskor, CEO of Indoor Harvest Corporation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.